Hey everybody, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth. We've got another great episode for you today as Ralph and I sit down and talk to you about our opinion on who's the most exciting SEC team to watch in 2022. It's not Alabama or Georgia. All that and more on the next episode of the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Ralph, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. We got a brand new sponsor. It's a good day. We've already spent some money with the sponsor as well, and we want people to spend some money as well with that as well. Hey, we're going to talk about the sponsor later on the show. This show is presented by this sponsor, and we'll talk about it in just a little bit. But Ralph, we want to welcome everyone in if you're listening on the radio throughout East Alabama and West Georgia, but if you're also tuning in on YouTube as well, I think this is going to be a fun one. We got some interesting feedback from people I know who watched the show about our last show, just talking college football, the SEC. So we decided to kind of dive into this. Who is the most exciting SEC team to watch outside of, your Alabama and Georgia? And that's not what the title of this video is. But we kind of talked about who, is the third best team. But I think it's a big difference saying who's our favorite team and who's not. And so we're going to talk about the day. Hit the subscribe button, set the notifications up as well. We're nearing 600 subscribers. And Ralph, we haven't really talked about this a lot, but we are going to be doing daily shows and content throughout the week. Now, obviously, Ralph may not be on every single one of those shows, but we will be doing those. He will be on the Sunday evening live call-in show that is going to launch here in just a couple of weeks. We're talking college football because, Ralph, what are we? I mean, we are in a month of college football. We're like 3 weeks away, 3 more Saturdays. August 27th, week 0, I think.
Yeah, week 0, and it's going to be it's actually a really interesting week 0. There's actually some good games.
Yeah, it's not – isn't there a game like overseas, like in London or something, or Ireland? Maybe? I'm not sure.
That's a question you shouldn't ask me. I just do not know.
Well, let's talk real quick about what we're talking about today. And so we're talking which SEC team is kind of the most exciting for us personally to watch this year. Now, obviously, Georgia and Alabama, the talent they have, everyone's going to want to tune in. They're going to have the primetime TV slots. But when I look at this, Ralph, I look at a team that, maybe did well in the transfer portal. They've got some new pieces. And maybe a team that had a solid year last year and could potentially take a jump from a low tier to a mid tier or mid tier to an upper tier. I think we kind of talked about Texas A&M last week or 2 weeks ago about that being that team. But I'm going to go first, and I think I'm SEC East, and I think you have an SEC West team.
I do.
Ralph knows mine before the show. I do not know where he's going with this before the show. But mine is the South Carolina Gamecocks. And the reason being is that I think this team did exactly like what they were supposed to last year. Shane Beamer came in, took over for Will Muschamp, and I think the Beamer ball, I think that's something that's really, really interesting. Ralph, I don't know if you've ever seen this guy on Twitter. It's the Spurs Up show. It's essentially like a Barstool South Carolina show. Like it's like Barstool-esque. It's not really like formal media, but the guy does a great job talking about South Carolina. And I think the reason being is the fact that you look at what South Carolina did last year. And I want to kind of I want to talk about that for a second, because what they were able to do last year, and you know what? We're going to head over to our good friends at FBS Schedules, and we're just going to take a look. We're going to take a look. We're going to drag it over here and take a look, because I think this is really just to kind of see what they did last year. It's really important. So let's do it. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. We're going to bring it over here. 2021 schedule for South Carolina. What did they do? Like we were talking about, I don't think that they necessarily overachieved or underachieved, but this is what they did last year. They started off the year with a win against Eastern Illinois. They beat East Carolina, and East Carolina's a solid team. They get blown out by Georgia. No disrespect to that.
There's nothing wrong with that. It is. Hey, now, at one point, it was a close game.
It was. And they were on the road. So that's the thing. Georgia kind of pulled away in the second half in this game. But South Carolina then loses on a night game, 16-10, a possession here or there. Ralph, we're talking about a South Carolina win against Kentucky. I think that's really important to see. They then defeat your Troy Trojans in a close battle,
I will say
23-14.
this: it should have went the other way around, but there were some bad calls in that game. But that's just personally, just being serious.
That's okay. They get blown out by Tennessee. Ralph, with
A
Tennessee's
good Tennessee
offense
team.
last year, I don't think anyone would be, too terribly upset with that. They have a come-from-behind
Should have
win against
lost.
Vanderbilt.
Should have lost that Vanderbilt game, honestly.
They lose at Texas A&M once again.
Who didn't?
Who didn't? They blow Florida out at home. That was an impressive win with where we thought Florida was at that point in the season.
Mm-hmm.
They lose a close game to Missouri. They kind of upset Auburn at home, where Auburn had some head-scratching plays, and they get blown out by Clemson. They ended up beating North Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. All that to say, though,
game,
Ralph.
by the way. Great game.
Listen, anytime you combine mayonnaise and football, I'm here for it. I'm here
versus
for it.
Clemson beginning of the season last year.
You remember that? That's crazy. But anyways, let's talk about this, because for me, this is where South Carolina is. South Carolina is, to me, coming off a season where they won, 6 games over the 2 seasons before Shane Beamer got there. And that was kind of surprising. Like, I didn't realize that. Like, that's how bad they were. They get there, and you think, okay, he doesn't have to win right away. But to a lot of people's surprise, I felt like Shane Beamer won in surprisingly short order. But it's, they had a 3-4 win, projection season. I think Vegas had them sitting last year around 3.5, 4.5 wins. Or if they went out when they went to a bowl game and they won one. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better year one, I think, if you were a South Carolina fan coming off of 2 really lousy seasons than what Shane Beamer had. So I was impressed with that. And the reason that I'm excited to watch them this year is because, they finished 7-6. They won 3 of their last 5 games. And I think Beamer really did a good job in the transfer portal. And I know this has kind of been something, the hot topic we could have a whole show about, is Spencer Rattler. People either love the addition or they hate the addition. And I don't think you hate the addition. You just think that Spencer Rattler wasn't as advertised when it got to the college game. Obviously, he was a great high school player. But I think the thing is that benefits him is that this is not the Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. This is a Spencer Rattler that is no longer under the eye and under the pressure of, 1, playing for a national title contender, and 2, Ralph, it changes a lot of things when you're trying to play in constant fear of losing your job. And that's what Spencer Rattler did last year with Caleb Williams right behind him in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. There's a little more security for him here, a little more low profile. No one's expecting them to make the college football playoff. No one expects them to go to the SEC title. Ralph, hardly anybody expects him to be finished number 2 in the SEC. If this is a team that finishes, 8-4 and goes and wins into the bowl game, goes 9-4, that is a massive step for what they could do. Now, we're going to take a look at their schedule here in a second, but I'm excited to watch what they have, and there's a couple reasons why. Obviously, what Spencer Rattler has, and I think the biggest thing is after 4 different quarterbacks in 4 years, Ralph, they finally have a guy they know is going to be. And listen, Rattler was good as a freshman. He was a Heisman Trophy front-runner entering last year, but the turnover bug bit him. And I think that was just a system and a situation where, 1, he was trying to press. He knew he had to impress to keep his job because of the talent of Caleb Williams. He had to go win some tough games. And Ralph reminded me, was it the Texas game that he was removed from the Texas game? Caleb Williams came in and won that game, if I'm correct. And that was a blowout by Texas. Texas was blowing them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that
it was
to
an
say,
early pull too. It wasn't like a late game pull to see what Caleb Williams did. It was like a first quarter pull. And Caleb Williams led Oklahoma to win that game, which shocked everybody because Texas was, like you said, blowing them out and running away with it for one point.
So no doubt about that. And I think the hope is that Rattler can come in and stabilize a passing offense that ranked 13 in the SEC last year. They weren't very flashy. They were 13th in passing, 11th in rushing, and 13th in scoring in the SEC. Rattler's mobility and his NFL arm. Now, when I say that, he has the NFL arm talent. Arm talent and being an NFL quarterback are very different things. But having that there, Ralph, to me, that's going to boost them a more convincing win over Vanderbilt. Maybe they upset Kentucky in that game if they had him. They're going to be able to win a couple games just based on having him, and I think that is the biggest thing. They restocked the running back room with Christian Bill Smith. They returned Marshawn Lloyd, who missed his entire first season with an ACL. The offensive line is getting better. When you lose a guy like Kevin Harris, who was the 2020 SEC leading rusher, that's tough. But if Rattler can stay upright and they have a defense that Ralph is coming off, they were the best pass defense of the SEC last year. They had 24 interceptions. That was an SEC high, or 24 recovered turnovers. I'm sorry. The defense, if it can be better, this team has a lot of talent to really do some things.
Right.
Now, do I think that they, beat a Georgia? No, I don't think so. But I do think that this team can beat some people they shouldn't beat. And if they beat the people they should, that's a pretty dangerous program. So let's take a real quick look at the 2022 schedule. And I think that this team's going to be very exciting.
I'm looking at it right now. And those first three are scary. I'm just going to let you know right now. Those first three are very scary games for them.
Yeah, so let's take a look at it right here. We have Georgia State at home. Sean Elliott makes a return.
7:30 at home, by the way.
7:30 at home. So let's say they win that one. Then they go to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Ralph, could you imagine, though, the momentum if they could win that game heading into Athens? Or heading into Georgia, which they get at home. Now, I'm not saying they're going to beat Georgia. I'm not even saying they're going to beat Arkansas.
12 o'clock at home for them, Bryce. They're a dangerous team.
They're a dangerous team, no doubt about it.
It's like Auburn at night or LSU at night or A&M at night. It's loud. It's rocking. South Carolina at 12 o'clock is a dangerous place to play. I have to say it because Georgia's they're not one to overlook that game because last time they did they got beat.
Yeah, and they lost that game in Athens at 12 o'clock. It was in Athens
still.
at 12 o'clock, so it's crazy. So you look at the schedule. This is what I have to say about South Carolina, though. To me, they're one of the more exciting teams because they have a quarterback who is high profile. Now he comes to a low-stress, low-profile situation. He can just play within himself. He doesn't have to worry about a job being taken from him. And two, Ralph, you mentioned it earlier, when South Carolina is rocking, that is one of the best environments in college football. Hands down, bar none. I think it's a top 4, top 3 SEC environment. I'll tell you right there. Because when that place is unbelievable, when it's rocking. When Sandstorm comes on, Ralph, and the white towels go waving, there's not a better place to be, in my opinion, in the SEC than a Saturday night in Williams-Brice with a really good football team. If Shane Beamer can find a way to win the games they're supposed to and win 1 or 2 games they're not supposed to, you're looking at another bowl-eligible team and another notch in the ladder for South Carolina beginning that ascent up to the top of the SEC East. That's just my take. I don't think they're going to blow anybody out. I don't think they're going to go into something crazy. But I'll tell you this. Arkansas was the darling last year. When they went into Athens, they were looking real pretty, and then they got beat. I'm not saying that, South Carolina can't do it, but they could. They could take an opportunity to maybe win a game in Arkansas, and then let's say they lose to Georgia, but they win a couple games they're not supposed to. It could be very, very exciting. So, Ralph, the stage is set. It's your turn when we come back.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a brand new sponsor, Rigged and Ready Fishing. Listen, it's a fishing apparel brand for on and off the water. Now, Ralph and I just got done purchasing some of the gear. You're going to want to go over to riggedandreadyfishing.com. Use code CrowdedBooth10 for 10% off your order today. They've got great stuff. You see the hats right there. They've got some comfort color shirts. They've got some hoodies, some accessories you can have, stickers, all kind of stuff, koozies. It's a really, really cool brand, and I'm excited to see what they have going back. As we flip back here, Ralph, my friend, is going to have the hat on. Ralph, you already had a hat for Rigged and Ready. You're ready to go.
Yeah, surprisingly, I already had a hat. Didn't even realize it until you told me today. I think I have a hat already, Bryce. But we're good. We're here.
We're here. Hey, we just purchased some stuff. They got some really, really cool stuff. I was really impressed with some of the products they had out there. We're excited to partner with them. Obviously, locally, if you know what they are, they're a guy from Columbus, a guy from Middle Georgia have combined to make a fishing apparel brand that's not just for the avid fisherman. Ralph, you know as well as I do. I enjoy it, but I am not talented at it whatsoever. Just ask your grandfather. Just ask him. But hey, this apparel brand can be worn on or off the water, so we're excited to partner with Rigged and Ready. All right, Ralph, it is now your turn. Hit me up. I picked South Carolina. Now, Ralph, who are you going with? Who's your team that you're excited to flip on the TV, go over to YouTube TV, maybe the Watch ESPN app because they're not going to be on a national game maybe? Tell me, who are you rolling with?
The first 3 games I can actually watch.
All right.
Yeah, easily.
Don't say Vanderbilt. Don't say Vanderbilt.
No, I'm not saying Vanderbilt. I know I messed with you earlier, and I threw a team out like every 10 seconds. I felt like I was going to go with it. I didn't say this one team, though, and in my head I thought about it on the way home. And I was like, man, that'd be a really good choice. I feel like it's the LSU Tigers. With Brian Kelly as the head coach this year, I think this team's got a good chance to surprise some people, honestly. And I say that because the addition of Jaden Daniels, the transfer quarterback from Arizona State, is something he can spark up. He can spark LSU. He can get Death Valley rocking down there. You don't return your leading rusher last year, but you bring in Noah Kane from Penn State, who was a stud of a running back.
And you kind of have a two-headed monster with John Emery as well, who's a solid player, just hasn't had a chance to break out.
And Armani Goodwin, who's a freshman last year, has got a good amount of reps. He's also good.
I forgot that Noah Kane was in Baton Rouge. Holy cow!
You also have we talked about this earlier. Probably the one or two number one receiver in returning for the SEC with Kayshon Boudier. You do lose your defensive specialist in Eli Ricks to Alabama, which it's okay. You're not going to go out there and beat Alabama this year, obviously. LSU it's a hard game for them to win this year. They're still rebuilding with Brian Kelly right now, but their schedule's a little different. And I can't bring it up right now, but you start off the season in a neutral site game against Florida State. That matchup already just tells me that's going to be
that's a Sunday night game too.
It is 7:30.
Here we go.
There you go. See, in New Orleans. LSU in New Orleans is an unreal team.
Ralph, I don't know if they played in New Orleans since, but if all they have to do is unveil that national championship hype video out, and they're going to win that. They're going to win that game.
Yeah, exactly. Their schedule's favorable toward them, honestly, except for the very end when you've got to face Florida, Ole Miss, Alabama, Arkansas all in a row. That's a rough one. But this team's there's nothing really for Brian Kelly to look forward to this year. Obviously, second place in the SEC West would be nice. A New Year's Six bowl would be really nice for him. You're coming off a year that was rough, and then they went 6-7 last year. Got blown out in the bowl game. No quarterback in that bowl game. Ed Orgeron leaves. There's a mutual agreement for him to leave. He was the people say things about LSU. They sold to the devil to win the national championship. They had a terrific 2019 season. 2020 was an absolute joke of a year. Your best player didn't play all year long. Just a lot of things went wrong with them that year. I feel like this is the bounce back year for LSU. This is not like the 2019 season they go undefeated and blow everybody out with an incredible offense. Now this is a year
they're going to be solid.
8 to 9 wins. They're going to have a close game against somebody that's really good, like an A&M game. That A&M game is to me, at A&M, I know it's the last game of the season. They always play so well there. You get back to the 2018 A&M game, I'm pretty sure they went 7 overtimes in Kyle Field. That right there just shows me this team is ready to play. I think they're exciting to watch this year. It's a new system with Brian Kelly, something that LSU's not used to seeing. They had Les Miles, his offense and defense for so long. Ed Orgeron basically ran the same thing, had a little more upbeat offense. Brian Kelly's going to bring something new. He's trying to learn the Southern accent. He's trying to get used to the South. I mean, it's a new man down there. He's having a good time. I think this whole system's going to be having fun. If you're an LSU fan, be excited for this season because there's nothing to look forward to. I mean, there's nothing like, we have to win, certain amount of games this year. No, you don't. Yeah. You just got to go out there and play football and learn what you got and work with it because eventually – it's all going to flip – it's all going to turn over one day, and you're going to win 10, 11 games again like you were in 2019.
Yeah, I don't have a doubt that Brian Kelly's going to win at LSU. It's not going to be right now, I think. Right. And when you say win, that fan base thinks 10 to 12 wins and, a Sugar Bowl. A Florida Bowl is like a worst case. We call them the Florida Bowls. A Florida Bowl is like a worst-case scenario for them, right? And I think, like
for
you said –
SEC schools, yes.
Yes, especially for a school like LSU. Like, you don't want to do that. But I'll tell you this, Vegas has them, Ralph, at 6.5 wins. So if you had to, and you don't know this, we're going to unveil a new show that we're going to be doing some locks and seeing what we take. 6.5, Ralph. I mean, you taking the over, the under on that? I mean, because that schedule, I'm
going over. I think you start the season off 4-0 going into Auburn. You're probably going to lose at Auburn due to the sheer fact that Jordan Hare. It's probably going to be a Saturday night. Yeah, it's just it's hard. You got Tennessee at home. Tennessee's going to be good this year. I'm not going to judge them off the season. You're probably going to beat Florida. Ole Miss and Alabama both come home, which I'm not saying anything can happen, but some crazy things have happened down there.
Well, and I'll say this too. In the year last year, Ralph, where LSU was not good, they challenged Alabama for a full 3.5 quarters. Like that was not a bad game.
And Bryant didn't. And then they also beat Texas A&M at home last year. People forget about that game. They beat them 27-24 home. Then when they played in the TaxAct Texas Bowl and lost to Kansas State 42-20.
I was in New York City.
Yeah.
When that game was going on.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was in New York City when I was going that game. I'll just talk real quick and then I'll let you go. I was in New York City when that game was going on, and this is about to be so bad. I was like in what's the area? Times Square. I'm so sorry. And that game was on the banner, and it was like a blowout. Anyways, keep going.
Your leading receiver in that game was John Trey Kirkland, who was a wide receiver at LSU. They had no quarterback play at the time. You get a quarterback with Jaden Daniels this year, who was, at one point was a Heisman in the Heisman talks. I think 2020 or 2019
preseason,
2019 freshman year, had an unbelievable year with 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now last year, a little shaky, it was banged up, got hit a lot. You do have Miles Brennan down there, right? Miles Brennan, yeah. Still there.
You also have Nussmeier as well, one of the big recruits. So I mean, they've got a loaded quarterback room they can go to.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniels starts this year. I think he's going to be the guy that he goes with. I think he's an electric quarterback, something that LSU needs right now. And I mean, I don't see them not winning 7-8 games at least.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, Ralph. I like it. Now, look, we talked about this last time. I went with South Carolina. You went with LSU. Ralph, give me your honorable mentions. Obviously, Georgia and Alabama, that's way too easy. I'll let you go first in this one. Who's your honorable mention? What's another team that you're going to keep an eye on that, they may not win a lot. I'm not saying they're going to win 10 games. They may win 6 games, but they're going to be kind of fun to watch, you think?
I think Tennessee. I see that. That's the best answer I feel like, because it is electric right now in Knoxville. They're excited for football season. After a basketball season, great run, baseball season was so much fun for them to watch this past year. They really wanted to start off this season with a great football season. They got a pretty darn easy schedule. I have to say that. You don't play a real team until Florida in week 4. Well, you got Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, at Pittsburgh. Actually, I think that's a free win for them this year. But Tennessee with Hendon Hooker, Josh Heupel year 2. A lot of big recruits their recruiting class is getting better and better every day. It feels like they're bringing in transfers. I mean, Tennessee's going to be an electric team to watch this year. If you're a Tennessee fan, I know you're excited. I have a few friends I've talked to that are so excited for this season. They're hyped, hyped under Heupel. I've heard that a few times, but it's going to be Tennessee's going to be fun to watch. I really do. I believe so.
Yeah, we may have to do an episode of, what is Tennessee's ceiling in 2022? I think how far could they get? You provided a great option there, Tennessee. I want to say Kentucky because Will Levis. I want to say Ole Miss because why is it not fun to watch what Lane Kiffin could cook up? But I'm going to go. I'm going to go off the rails here with Mississippi State because I think the Mississippi State is going to be interesting because look, they're never going to play like amazing defense. I don't feel like. But Will Rogers is getting more comfortable in the air raid offense. And that if it all clicks one night, they're going to beat somebody they have no business competing with. Like no business competing with. And that's how Mike Leach is. Like there are going to be some games where it looks downright bad. But there's going to be 1 or 2 games this year with Mississippi State that they're going to challenge somebody. And you're like I think they challenged Alabama for a while last year just because of how complex that offense is. Alabama ended up running away with the game. But they're going to put up some points. Like it's not going to be because they can't score. It's because they can't stop anybody. And so I think it's going to be really, really interesting to watch Mississippi State this year. And really, Ralph, I don't know if there's a team that you're going to say, I don't want to tune into a game they're playing outside of Vanderbilt this entire season. Like I think the SEC, we talk about it year in and year out. They're a lot of fun to watch. And it's starting to feel like, a lot of people talk about the top 2 teams. But I think when you get like teams – and we'll give A&M the 3rd spot. But when you get teams like 4 through 13, I don't know. Like I don't know because Arkansas could show up, Tennessee could show up, Ole Miss could put it together and be downright nasty. I mean, Florida, who knows?
Because I feel like we don't talk about them enough, and I know you've had people on them about it. I mean. It's weird up in the plains, man. You never know what's going to happen with that thing.
I wish I had the clip, but Zach McKennell, who is a good friend of the show, he came on. He said about Auburn, he said, look, in 2012, when they went 3-9, there was about 5 or 6 games where they flipped it the next year. Like it was this close, and then they made the plays in 2013, and we all know what happened in 2013. So who knows? Who knows? The SEC is going to be fun to watch. So, Ralph, I appreciate it. My name's Bryce Koon. That's Ralph Leary. We thank you so much for listening on the radio. If you watch this on YouTube in entirety, thank you so much. Hit the subscribe and the notifications bell. Get us to 600 subscribers before the season starts. We're at 571. That's really, really easy. Ralph might even dip into the Venmo and Venmo you $6. We'll see. We don't know. Probably not this time. I don't think he's done it yet, so it's okay. But anyways, we appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much. This has been another episode of The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.